All right. It's a tradition unlike any other. It's the Sort of Sports podcast. Quinn Maseko, you're on today with me for our last March Madness episode.
Yes, yes, yes. And it is a tradition unlike any other. And
We just love that slogan. I
we
think
do.
we got to kick it back. You and I, when we first started doing the Big Salad together, back in 2021, back when we were consistently doing the Big Salad every week,
Yes.
you and I just loved to make fun of that whole thing. And, now I've gotten to the point where I kind of genuinely like it. I went from the point of ironic to all the way to the point now I actually really like it. And I look forward to it every year because they had that commercial they ran every week on NFL for like solid 3 months. And it was just Jim Nance, tradition unlike any other. The
Well, that was
Masters,
2020.
CBS. What?
That would have been 2020 then, because we had the Fall Masters.
No, it was 21. It was 21 was the year because we started doing the Big Salad together in 21.
Okay.
I just remember we were seeing a bunch of ads. I think it was during March Madness, is when it was. It was during March Madness. There was
Okay.
a
Yes,
ton of
yes.
ads. That's when it was. And we just thought the commercials were funny because all they would say is that. They wouldn't even say what network it was on. It was just that.
We go bum 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 bum.
Yep, yep. But now Masters are going on. Did you watch any Masters?
I don't. And first of all, you don't watch the first couple rounds because they're on ESPN. You only watch it on CBS because that's
it's
where
a
you
tradition unlike any other watching on CBS.
Yes, and typically you'd get Vern Lundquist. He did that still after he retired from basketball, and then Jim Nance on Sunday. So that's what you typically did.
I feel like Sunday, the Masters is the big day, obviously.
Yeah, because it's the day the green jacket is crowned. So,
Yes.
um, you know, the Europeans
No
are wrong.
phones at the Masters.
Say that again.
No phones at the Masters. It's like my mom's high
Oh,
school
I
English
know,
class.
I know, I know, I know.
I think it's
And
pretty fun. My
those,
mom would be proud.
oh yes, she would.
She
That's how
would.
she gets
Would
her
you see
class.
that Mike Vrabel video?
Anyway, yeah, no cell phones allowed.
No cell phones. I sent that to my mom. She sent
Locker
it to the
room.
whole teacher group chat. She sent it out. She said, "Look at this. Mike Vrabel's one of us."
And and speaking of the Masters, I mean, you can sit there, take out the words. You could just sit there and listen to the 3 minute instrumental song of the Masters theme because it's pretty good piano work. And I formerly played the piano,
Mhm.
and I will say, even though my father is a hater of the piano, I love I love Billy Joel, Elton John, all that. So I enjoy the piano uh melody line that's there in the theme song, and I think it epitomizes that Georgia feel that we're gonna see at the Masters this week.
Well, that's the thing of the Masters. I think the Masters are an excellent example of the pageantry of an event almost overtaking the actual substance of it, and not in a bad way. Really,
Us.
not in a bad way. It
The first
really
shot,
adds.
the first
Yes.
drive, whatever they call it, right there, having a historic figure and having every past winner come and attend and make sure they wear their green jacket as well and get the big giant group picture at the end when they
Well, they
crown.
do the meal that's based off what the last winner wanted that everybody eats and stuff. Like that's the official meal based off what the last winner likes. And I mean, it's a really good example of, I mean, what's interesting about the Masters is, and I think, you and I are, neither of us are big golf fans. We should, I think it's pretty clear at this point.
No. If
Uh,
I want to choose, I will put this on the record right here, and I will tell anybody this. If I'm choosing a country club sport to watch, which would be between golf, tennis, swimming, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's bowling in the White House thanks to Nixon, but I wouldn't call that a country club sport. Out of those three, I'm watching tennis all day,
tennis,
every day. I
tennis,
love
tennis easily.
tennis. I love
I love
tennis.
watching tennis
So
also.
I can turn that
Tennis
on
is so
anytime in the summer.
fun because tennis is like a duel.
It is.
It's a duel, right? Whereas golf, it's a gentleman. It's not a duel. It's just not,
Right.
which is
Right.
fine. It's fine. It's not. But
Right.
tennis honestly is like more similar to like fencing. You know what I mean? It's like an attack sport. You're attacking the opposer. You are doing your best to kind of break them down mentally and physically. It's essentially like an old like medieval duel in my mind, at least a little bit of it when it comes to tennis. That's why I think tennis is cool. But the Masters, I think, is a really good example of they do such an excellent job making it feel like a big deal. And I think, honestly, I think something like the NBA should look at them and kind of be like, okay, how do we get that? Like they make the Masters feel like a big deal. They make the Masters feel important. Guys who really aren't like watching golf that much will tune into the Masters. It is an event you watch every year. And I think March Madness has also done a really good job of this. The NBA does not have this with the finals. They don't have that
Hey, this
reverence.
is what you have to realize about it's kind in let's knock out swimming out of the country club sports. If we're talking about golf or tennis, there are only four events you're going to pay attention to, which are the majors every year. So
I know.
that's
I
why
know how golf works, but
that's the thing is that you get worn down compared to that. That's where I think football, if you want to talk about the four major sports, excuse me, as I itch my nose, um, in the four major sports between hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. Football is the one that reigns supreme with viewership and uh, TV ratings because it's a shorter season. It's compacted. People wear down. You got an 82 game season in the NBA plus a
oh, and
whole
each game's
tournament.
less important.
Right. And then on top, they're on MLB 162. People don't even pay attention until you get to October, until you're actually into the playoffs,
Some
really.
pet fans, yes,
So,
yes.
yes.
And
So,
yeah, I
you're a
agree. I
casual
think
fan.
the
So,
biggest thing the
but
NFL
if
will
you're
always have for them is its appointment viewership every time.
And if you're a casual fan of a golf or a tennis, you're typically going to stick, if I'm a casual fan of tennis, I'm going to chime into the US Open, Wimbledon, the French Open, or the Australian Open, because
Yep,
those are your
yep,
four majors,
yep.
Golf, it is the US Open, um, the
You
British
checking?
Open, PGA, and the Masters. I could not think of the PGA.
But
I
the
could only
Masters isn't affiliated with PGA, correct? It's its own beast, if I'm not mistaken. It's its own thing, right?
I can't answer that on Wikipedia right now. I'd have to change pages.
I think the Masters is so interesting because they've made it such a big deal. Like, can you buy like the Masters merch without going?
And by the way, it is on the PGA Tour.
Oh, you can buy. Goodness, this is crazy.
So I was looking at Masters Champions. I haven't done that. I hadn't looked it up yet. But
If you want to buy like just a standard Masters hat, it's $80. It's
oh,
crazy.
easily, easily. I will say, fun facts here, folks. The first non-American player to win the Masters was Gary Player in 1961 from South Africa. I knew he was a winner. I just didn't know how early he was. The first European player, and I will not be able to probably pronounce this correctly, but Ballesteros from Spain won it in 1980. It took that long to actually get somebody to win it from the European circuit, which I find interesting. So
Interesting.
nobody from South America until 2009. So
You can only buy Masters gear at the Masters. You cannot order it online.
that sounds
If
about
you
right.
if you order something online, it is fake. So there's a little PSA to everybody. We started talking about the Masters this much just because of the tagline.
Just because of the tagline. And
It's
I
a good
will say,
tagline. It's a really good tagline.
and I will say, nobody's ever won. I believe in tennis they have won all the Grand Slams in a year, but nobody I don't think has ever won in golf in the same year all of the majors.
Tiger
So
Woods never did.
Tiger was supposed to do that. Tiger was supposed to do that in I'm looking. Maybe Tiger was never close to doing it. I thought he was supposed to do it in 2008 because everything I know, I love that old Masters commercial of him in 2008 because Jim Nantz goes, Tiger is playing at a level unknown to mere mortals. Everybody thought he was going to win his fifth green jacket in 2008. Little did they people know it'd take you another 11 years till 2019 to win his fifth green jacket. So that's it. I don't think anybody has ever won. Maybe I'm wrong.
Here, okay,
I
so here's what I looked up. Grand Slam golf. Um, he won all four major championships consecutively. The US Open, the Open
correct.
Championship, the PGA Championship, and the Masters, but it wasn't in the same calendar year.
Tiger did?
Yes. because it was the
Okay, that's what I'm
2001
saying.
Masters and not the 2000 Masters. That's what messed it up.
He won the 2001 Masters, not the 2000
He was
Masters.
the
Yeah,
only one to win them all in a
yeah,
row, but they weren't in the same year. This feat
right. It's
became
got to
known as the
be in the
Tiger
same
Slam.
year. Same year. Yes.
The Tiger Slam, that's what it's called. There's a Wikipedia article called List of Career Accomplishments by Tiger Woods. That's when you know you're just the best ever. It's
Yes.
when you just have your own article. I mean, now granted, we better talk a little quick before we get to basketball. Ovechkin. Congratulations to
I
Alexander Ovechkin.
know.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
Breaking Gretzky's record, I think it was for a long time seen as one of the most unbreakable records in any sport. And then, boom, he broke it. And I think it'll probably be a long time till someone breaks his record. I still think Gretzky's my GOAT, but Ovechkin's got to be in the conversation.
Yes, he has to be in the conversation.
Has to be.
Obviously.
Has to
Yes.
be. I
Gretzky.
saw they were
What about
debating on
Bobby
first.
Orr? Are you throwing Bobby Orr out with
Bobby
that?
Orr is impressive too. Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe as well.
Hockey is the best names.
They do. And they play, I feel like they play the longest.
Yeah. Well, the old guys' names sound old, and the young guys' name sounds new.
True.
Like Gretzky sounds like a '90s name. You know what I mean? But like Gordie Howe, that dude's like 100. You get what I mean? Like you
He
just know it.
was. He played till he was
I
50.
know. Did he play for the Sun?
He might have.
He's a Red Wings right guy, right? Super
Gordie Howe
70 Sports always
was
posts
all
that
over the
picture of
place.
him.
Yes, they do. They do. It's just he was all over the place when he didn't play just for the Red Wings all his career.
Okay.
That's all I was saying. I was going to go back. Tennis Grand Slam winners who in all the calendar year. I knew Serena had never done it. Two men, Don Budge, 1938, and then Rod Laver, 1962, 1969. So nobody's done it in the men's circuit for 56 years. On the women's side, Maureen Connolly in 1953, which isn't even in the modern era. That's before the open era. Margaret Court, who has won the most Grand Slams, which is 23. She was in the transition period there. She did it all in 1970. And then actually Steffi Graf did it in 1988. That is so interesting. I didn't know that she did that. I knew that Margaret Court did. So there you go. That's the that's the end of that. Gordie Howe, are you looking up Gordie Howe? Are you on this? Or am I supposed to be on this?
What I was doing right now. I was looking up. Did Gordie Howe play with his sons? Yes, Gordie Howe played with both of his sons, Mark and Marty, both in the World Hockey Association and the National Hockey League. They played together on the Hartford Whalers for the 1979 through 1980 season.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Crazy.
And his nickname is Mr. Hockey.
I mean, that's how you know you're one of the best to ever do it.
Right. And looking at playing careers.
No one's ever called me Mr. Basketball.
Not yet. They call you Mr. Podcast.
Oh, no, not that either. That's funny. That's
You
good.
don't like that?
Oh, no, that's funny. I feel like it's got to go like Bill Simmons. Somebody significantly bigger following than me. Has to be Mr. Podcast. But that's very
Okay.
kind,
I'm gonna
Keith.
say I'm gonna stand corrected as in two things. First of all, Margaret Court 24 Grand Slams, not 23. I can't believe I messed that up. And number two, Gordie Howe only played for the Red Wings in the NHL. He just played for multiple different other associations. So I will correct
We
that
played
error.
for the Whalers together, he said. I said there.
Yes, but that was not in the NHL.
Whalers were NHL.
No, they're WHA, World Hockey Association.
No, I thought the Whalers were NHL.
Nope.
No, are you serious?
Serious. Serious.
Gordie Howe play with. I'm looking at Gordie Howe in the NHL. Oh, NHL Whalers. Yeah, Whalers are NHL.
No, not the Hartford Whalers.
Yes, they were. They were an NHL team, Q. Yes, they are. I know they are.
They were from 79 to 97, but he wasn't playing with them during that time. He was playing them before that.
He
So
no, it says they were on the same
70.
team in 1980.
Okay, so 1 year.
1 year in the NHL. It was in the NHL. He got it done in the NHL.
I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
Yes, one season. That's it.
That's all
One
you need.
season. Fine. That means then obviously he played for a different team, the NHL, than just the Red Wings.
True. But he's a Red Wings legend. That's who he's associated with.
Yes, like
Is
Zetter.
that the jersey Cameron wears in Ferris Bueller? I know it's a Red Wings. I wonder if it's Gordie Howe.
Can't
You're not as big of a
never
Ferris
seen
Bueller
Ferris
guy, but
Bueller's Day Off. Well, dare I say, the popular clip going around from Ferris Bueller now, I've seen that multiple
it
times.
is Gordie Howe. That's what I thought. What is it? What's clip? What's clip?
It's the teacher in the beginning. Anyone? Anyone?
Oh yeah, Bueller.
Great
Yeah.
Depression? Anyone?
Yep.
Anyone? The Smoot Hawley Terror Fact? Anyone? Anyone?
Yep. That's a classic scene.
Don't fall asleep in history class, folks. You'll learn something. That's all I can
Oh,
say.
all right. Who's the one that said history is teaching us the mistakes to not create in the future? Somebody said something like that one time.
I never said it was a Confucius.
I think it was my mom.
Say that again. History is what?
I don't know. It's history's, we have to learn the mistakes. I think it was Winston Churchill. I know it was Churchill. Churchill said something to the effect of, we must never forget histories because they teach us our future. Something to that effect. I know for a fact once this episode is published, my mom is going to text me what the
We should
actual
never
quote is
forget history.
because it
Finish.
will teach us our future or something to that effect. You checking me right now? I think it's Winston Churchill. Churchill's got a lot of good quotes. He's a smart guy. Smart guy. Pistons won.
Are they in? I mean, are they?
Oh,
They
oh no,
clear
we're
the
in. We're
playoff.
in. We're just
I
making
mean,
sure
they
we're the
cleared the
five seed.
playoff.
We need to stay the five seed.
I will say
So we play the Pacers first round instead of playing the Knicks. Even though we own the Knicks, we haven't lost them all year. But we just want to make sure for fact we don't have to. I don't know. I'd rather play the
say
Pacers.
that now and watch them below it.
Well, that's why we're playing the Pacers. So it's fine.
Good.
We don't own the Pacers, which is good because it's going to mix things up. Did you find the quote? It's going to be. I'm using such vague terms. We're not going to be able to find it, dude.
Okay, this is all I got from Churchill. And Churchill said, everyone can recognize history when it happens. Everyone can recognize history after it has happened. But only the wise man knows at the moment what is vital and permanent, what is lasting and memorable. I don't think that's what you wanted.
I don't
So,
know. My mom will know when she listens to the
oh, she
episode.
knows. She'll know.
She'll remember. She
Yep.
reads a lot more than I do. I read a decent amount. She reads an absurd amount.
MMC.
All right. We ready to get into it?
Oh, sure. Let me get
Well,
my.
Quinn, I believe a congratulations is in order for me for picking the correct national championship. And a congratulations for you because your team won the national title. So there we go.
Well, I will say I did don my Husky gear on Friday against UCLA, and that was I just thought I was gonna be torn because as a competitive person, happy that my team won the national championship. But I might have been even happier just to prove a point that my brother
Oh,
was
my. Proving a point over your favorite team winning? I cannot believe it.
right.
I would never. So that's why I always just go with my
That's
heart.
how
That's why
the
I always go
point.
with my heart, Quinn. Remember, we talked. We said, what's going to win? The heart or the mind?
The
And
point. Hey,
truth of the matter is, the heart always wins.
the
That's why.
point. No.
Yes.
Mind. Look, here's the deal. The point I was trying to
Boom,
make was
boom,
just that I could
boom,
pick
boom.
teams better. And damn it, I was close. So,
I,
well,
game was not
fine.
close.
I
Game was
was
not
not
close.
close. But I mean, I should take that back. I was close. They were 2 games away from making it happen. They could have been
Listen
out
to
in the
your
first round.
heart when
So,
it's calling to you. Isn't that how that goes?
Roxette.
Yeah. I don't know where you're going. Listen to your heart. That's
Okay.
that's that's moral story cue. When it comes to picking teams, just pick who you want. It's the best system.
Hey, we got to get right back to where we're starting from. Should listen to that song instead.
All right, I'll look
Where did
that
I
one up.
start? I started in Storrs, Connecticut. And I should have stayed there.
Well, the game
But,
was an absolute blasting.
well, first of all, we'll talk about the Final Four. Haven't we can't just skip that. I mean, I will, let's put a point out there first.
Okay, good point.
I will say that as I try to pull everything,
I think UCLA's built a really strong program, and within the next 3 to 4 years, they're going to win a national title.
I mean, they should. Corey Close is a very good.
And I think Duke is another team I would be watching out for in the coming years.
Yeah, Kara Lawson's really turned that program around. Good
Oh
for
yeah.
her. Good for her.
Oh yeah.
So Friday, Final Four, excuse me. It took South Carolina some time, but they finally got some separation over Texas. Fourth time, four of them. They played them four times, twice in the regular season, conference tournament championship, and then here in the Final Four. Once South Carolina could start running and pushing the pace, that's when it was going to get in trouble for Texas. Texas is a very slow, methodical defensive team. And Harmon and Booker got 3 fouls in the first half, which killed them, killed Vic Schaefer. I mean, it just you couldn't be successful with that right there. Um, and uh I was kind of stunned that the margin was this big, though. I would have thought it would be closer because they are SEC foes now, and with playing so many times before this season. But in the end, South Carolina played well enough to win, and that's the thing. That's what's interesting about South Carolina. You look at their statistics here from the Final Four game. I'm sure it's going to pan out the same in the championship game, but they don't have a. There's no standout scorer in this.
No, and that's their biggest
That's
strength and
their
their biggest
problem,
weakness.
is that they're basically scoring by committee instead. So
They don't have a go get us a bucket person,
no, exactly. And you got to
which
have
every
some.
great team needs.
Everybody has to have one. But, Connecticut won. That was the largest margin of a win ever in the Final Four in NCAA women's basketball tournament history, 34 points. I think what impressed me the most here in the Final Four game was, how balanced the scoring was between the three stars. Sarah Strong, the stud freshman, scoring 22. AZ Fudd, 19. Paige Beckers, your senior leader, 16. So I thought that was very good, and very happy with that. You know who really is um an underrated player here, and it's because of her defense. And she had to show it. She had to show it here against UCLA, against Lauren Betts, was Jana El Alfi, the Egyptian
Hmm.
product,
Hmm.
was a freshman whose parents had not seen her play yet and flew in just for the Final Four in the championship. And she was crucial to Connecticut beating UCLA and stifling Lauren Betts. I mean, to be honest, Lauren Betts, she still scored 26 points. It was 11 of 18. But what Connecticut did is stifled everybody around her, and she was not able to distribute to them as much, or uh, whether it was cleanly or any of those types of things. And that really is what happened in that game that separated those two teams, between the Bruins and the Huskies. So I think it was a great season by the Bruins, and I don't know who all comes back next year.
Is
Um,
Fudd coming back?
is Fudd coming back?
That's to me the big piece.
I don't think she is.
Let me look it up. Let's look it up.
You
AZ.
can look it up, but she doesn't. It doesn't say. See, what's interesting is that she only played 2 games last season, and she
She
never.
says she will return.
Okay, so that means, excuse me, it just doesn't have. On ESPN, it used to mark when they took a red shirt. It doesn't say that she's a red shirt. So, she would have redshirted last year because she was only played 2 games. She had to be out. So,
Yeah, she's coming back.
or even her sophomore year because she was out because she was only played 15. It's right around the threshold, what it is. But so, um.
Obviously, Becker's going to be the number one pick. And you and I have been big Becker backers her whole career. We followed her the whole way.
Mhm.
And so this was really, I think, a big moment for both of us. And I was very happy for her, my favorite women's basketball player. I'm excited to watch her go off to the league. Whatever team she goes to, will probably just be my favorite team until Detroit gets a team. So I'll probably just
When is
follow her.
Detroit going to get a team?
Pretty soon, they're working on it.
They are working on it.
Mhm.
Good. I hope the WNBA, because right now there are 16 teams, correct?
I think it's less than that.
It's 12.
Yeah, it might be an odd number.
Is that small?
Yeah, it's not. It's 13.
It's 13. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
man, it's still growing. I mean, they still got a
I know, but they were bigger, I think, in the 2000s, and they shrunk, and now they're regaining. I
yeah,
mean,
this is the most popular they've ever been. I mean,
yes.
they are putting up relatively similar numbers to the NBA in a, I would say, worse climate because they play in the summer.
Oh, they do. Yeah, it is. It is.
But they're putting up good numbers. I mean, every game that Paige Becker, not Paige Beckers, every game that Caitlin Clark plays Angel Reese draws in big numbers for them, like
Yeah.
NBA level numbers. And I think one out you're gonna have Beckers in there, and pretty soon you're gonna have Juju.
Right.
That and they already have Brink. That five
That's
is your
yeah.
big
I
five.
mean, right there. That you're 5. I know. I saw on Instagram and
Oh
this
well, Cardozo is the one that
right
replaces
of the
Juju in that
of the
recruiting class.
recruiting class
Yeah,
of 2020. You have so really when you look at the star levels here, you got Paige. I'm sorry, you have Caitlin Clark here, star wise, and then you've got a good right underneath. I mean, I don't. They're not even. They're A minus stars. They're not. I mean, Caitlin Clark is an A plus 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 just because of the
she's
popularity.
she's
But you have
she's. Here's the thing that
you
Bill
got
Simmons was pointing out, and
Angel,
I want to say to you
Paige,
really quick before you do
Cam,
this. Let me
Camille.
say this real quick. Well, you can say
Go,
this.
go. I finished my point.
Well, I cut you off, so you got to re-say it.
I already did. I finished it. Nope, nope.
They can't hear you. Do it again, and then I'll say my piece. Do it again.
That means just because the screen flips to you doesn't mean they can't hear me.
Telling you, I'm listening to you. You were saying Caitlin Clark, and then Backers, Reese, um, Cordozo, and
Brink.
Brink are all also huge stars, and that's very true.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
agree. And I
they
think,
had their own popularities
oh yeah,
as well.
and I
And then
think you're going to throw
elevate.
Juju in there in a couple years. I think Fudd isn't the most popular, but I think she could also be marketed some. But there's other people that can try to be marketed, but Juju's really your last big one. And I'm sure there's gonna be new players. I was just looking at the recruiting rankings for next year. There's the top recruit in the nation is going to Oklahoma. Her name's Aaliyah Chavez.
Yep,
She's from
I did see
Texas.
that.
And then Sienna Betts is second ranked, and she is going to UCLA. And then the third ranked is Jasmine Davidson, and she is going to USC. So those are your top three.
Well,
And
was gonna,
Duke having somebody at seven. Her name's Emily Skinner. So
well, I was
just
just going to tell you what's interesting is that Connecticut is for their 3 recruits next year, one from Baltimore, Maryland, and then the other two are international. One from Ireland, another one from Ecuador,
interesting.
which is interesting because just dipping down to this year, you had Jana El Alfie that came in, and she was, and I don't know where. I'm pretty sure she was recruited this year, but I don't know where. She redshirted last. That's why she redshirted. So yeah, she's from Egypt. And prior to that, Gino had recruited some people. Had recruited a couple of players from France as well. So and they've had Dorka Juhas, who is from Russia, I believe, and somewhere in Eastern Europe. And then it's the international pool seems to be where Gino is finding his
Interesting.
players,
It's a good
which is
point.
I know.
No,
So
I mean, I wonder, it might be a little bit to get a number one again. I
Juhas
mean,
is Hungary.
Backers was, what's up?
Juhas is from Hungary, not from Russia.
Okay,
Correct.
good
But anyway,
call.
go ahead.
I mean, Beckers was number one. She was a massive deal coming out of high school. I remember she was the Gatorade Athlete of the Year for women's basketball. I think she was just a Gatorade Women's Athlete of the Year, period, I want to say. She was a huge deal on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And I think it's really cool that she got the storybook ending to her college career. I mean, winning, she came back for this fifth year, kind of make up for that lost season to injury. And I mean, couldn't end it any better for her. And I think that's
No,
really a nice storybook ending. It's a storybook ending that I think a lot of people, me included, wanted Caitlin Clark to have. And Beckers was the one who got it. So, and I was going to say about Caitlin Clark, and Bill Simmons said this before, and he's right. Caitlin Clark is a more valuable talent than everyone in the NBA under the age of 30. As far as a marketing piece and a popularity
yes,
piece,
yes.
she's bigger than Jason Tatum. She's bigger than Anthony Edwards. She's bigger than Nikola Jokic. She's bigger than who is another guy under 30 that would be good right now. I think Giannis is over 30 now at this point, but even then, she's bigger than Giannis. She's bigger than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, she has more presence than all those guys. My grandpa doesn't know who Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is.
No.
No. He knows Caitlin Clark.
Which one, Dick or Ben?
Both. Both. That's my point, though. I mean, my grandpas do not know who Jason Tatum is.
No.
He played in college. They don't know who he is. They know who Caitlin Clark is. And I think that's a really important piece that WNBA has that they're always going to have. Like, people know who Caitlin Clark is, and she has this ability that people like just people want to watch her, whether they love her or hate her, they want to tune in. And due to that, you're going to be able to market players around her and market her rivals. Like maybe her and Beckers will have a bit of a rivalry in the WNBA. Who knows? But whoever that is, whether it's Brink, whether it's Cardozo and Reese, whoever it is, they're going to have they're going to have a really good pool here to market for about 15 years. And I think that's really what's going to grow it. But Clark is the key piece, and I think that's obvious.
Right, right, right. And I would say, Angel Reese is always she has a very valid point that it's not just because of Caitlin Clark, it's because that little rivalry they had and LSU beating them in the national championship did elevate because Caitlin Clark was popular, but her popularity exploded after
Her
that.
junior year was the one that exploded.
After appearing there and them getting blown out essentially by LSU. Excuse me. You can't help to think that, and I believe we've discussed this before, is that it's definitely a little Magic Bird syndrome here. But the shoes on the other foot where Magic got, you know, Magic was the he got the limelight, I would say,
When he went
between
to LA, I
he
mean,
went to LA, his Showtime, it was
he's
the
also that was more his
celebrity,
personality. He was always
all
more
that.
showy.
Yes, Larry Bird was not that.
Larry Bird's
And
not like that.
the shoe, that's how it is here, is that Caitlin Clark is getting all the press and the deals and that, and then Angel Reese is just there.
But
I
Angel
mean,
Reese is the more
her
showy,
own.
and she went to Chicago, which is the bigger
This is
market.
true.
So
This
it's a
is
little weird.
true.
The personalities are a
It
little.
is. It is. It's just that, that's just how that's yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting dynamic. Now the WNBA has its own Magic Bird rivalry, almost 40 years later,
It's
or
really cool to
over
watch.
40 years later, for doing that. So
And the thing is with the NBA is they got Magic Bird, and then they went right into Michael Jordan, and then ever since then they were massive. And I
yes,
think this is the WNBA's Magic Bird, and maybe Beckers is going to be another key piece to
it
this.
should be, should be. I mean,
I'm
it
willing to
has.
bet she is. She is not as popular as Caitlin Clark was, but I also think I have in my entire life never seen an athlete explode that quickly through popularity in any sport period.
Talking about Double C.
Yeah, I mean the only one even close is Mahomes.
Yeah.
The only one.
Well, and the thing is too, what you have to do is comparing. If you compare Caitlin's journey to Paige's journey, is that Paige had to battle through injury, so she didn't play, for 1 year.
Hmm.
Lose a year, even though you're just on the team, you're not playing, so you're not creating that hype around your name compared to somebody else. And so Caitlin be able to do that, was able, and basically, with Paige being out, being able to take all of the media airtime as well, assisted her ascension too. And what she do, she backed it up with her playmaking abilities and her scoring.
Hmm.
So,
I remember
uh,
when she first recruited her, the big piece was the playmaking. It wasn't even the scoring.
no,
It took her a few years to become like an elite scorer.
it's the assist. That's the thing.
Still her best piece is her
She doesn't
vision.
score. She scores a lot, but that's where she is really just her similarities. I tell you, very similar to a Magic Johnson type player because it's assists, it's steals, and she does get her buckets, but she doesn't have to go out there and score 30, 40 every night. She
Which is
just
the
needs
way Caitlin Clark is built.
her right, exactly. She
Caitlin
just
Clark from a play style is probably more like a Steph Curry. Like we're being technical. We're just like, I'm just gonna shoot a ton and score a ton.
she does. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, she's very kind of mixed those two
She's
things.
a decent playmaker though. I think underrated playmaker. So Bird's not a bad comp. Bird's not a bad comp. What you want to talk about the national championship itself?
Oh, we can. Um,
I mean, I remember I was watching, I was just like, wow. I mean, this was a trouncing. It was a game that I think a lot of people thought would be very close. And I mean, they just got waxed. And it was like you said, I mean, you touched on it earlier, like the South Carolina, the scoring by committee just didn't work against UConn. I mean, it's not like Becker's exploded for UConn. I mean, she had
17.
17. Sarah Strong had 24, as AZ Fudd had 24.
Mhm.
And so
Did not shoot well from 3-point range
no.
at all.
But
So
it just didn't like it just felt I mean, they just dominated, man. Like I mean, I think a big piece is Sarah Strong having 15 rebounds. It's a big piece. But I mean, but the end of the first quarter, it's 19-14. And it's like, okay, all right, we'll see where this goes. And then by the next one, it was 36-26. And it's like, okay, it's half. Let's see.
and I will add to this, and as I was told that um There are no daggers in the first half. As somebody sitting beside me during this game, if you couldn't add anything else that was much similar to a dagger, it was right there at the end of the first half
Yep.
because South Carolina had some momentum. They
Yep.
cut it to 7, and then Connecticut hits a 3, and that ends the half, and that it gets it back up to 10. It's just mentally defeating there that you had the momentum, and you could have maybe cut it to 5. You
Hmm.
would have been right in this game, but because you couldn't, and a defensive lapse happened, they made the shot. Now it's a double-digit deficit, and it kind of takes you just mentally out of there. So, and they were wearing them down physically on top of that.
The
So,
last score of the first half is always a huge part. I feel like anybody who's ever played basketball knows that. Like, if you hit a big shot to end the first half, whether you're down 20 or down 3, that feels awesome. And it just makes the halftime speech better. And it just gives you something to care about. It's like, hey, great shot there at the end. Like, that's always a big piece. It gives the last thing in their mind is a shot you made. You're winning the mental battle at half. Granted, if you're down 40, it's a little different, but it's still something,
right,
you
right,
know?
right,
But
right.
I mean, congratulations to the championship, Quinn. Gino, obviously, I mean, like the
And,
go,
and he's coming back, and he does not want to quit yet. But, you know,
the go, right? You'd agree?
it's hard to, this is the thing, and this is what we talked about this already too. And I'll put this notion out there again, is that your biggest question mark here is that if Pat Summit was healthy enough and never was forced to medically retire, where would this be at now? Where would Tennessee's program still be
What
at?
recruits did they
Would they
have?
recruiting?
Yeah.
Are
It's a
obviously
sad but true. Yeah.
that's the thing, is that that's the real question mark because Pat Summit won 8 national championships herself, and I believe went to 20 Final Fours is what or maybe I might be a little high. It might be 18 actually, but let's see, 18. See, I knew I was a little high on that. Um, but that's the only question mark you can give yourself, is that what would have happened if she would have never, because she would have never ever, I mean, if Pat Summer was living right now, she'd be 73 almost, 2 years older than Gino, and she probably would still be coaching. So that's the only thing. You just don't know what's going to happen there. Obviously, yes, you can't. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Gino is the greatest coach of all time in NCAA women's basketball history. I mean, uh, 24 Final Fours, 12 national championships, and 1,250 career wins after winning this last championship. So, I mean, now if you were a perfect showman, as Jerry Seinfeld would say, you go out on top. So you'd be retiring, but he is not ready to go down fighting yet. So
Needs
I
one more
he wants
chip.
to go another. He wants to keep going. I could see him going another 5 years if he wanted to. So he's only 71. So I don't think, another 5 years is out of reach for
This
him.
was his largest stretch without one, though, right?
Okay, so let's see.
Without a natty.
Yes, 9 years. Yes,
Oh, that's rough.
because he went from 95 to 2000,
Yeah, yeah.
and then 2000, 2002, and won 3 in a row. And then 2000, and then back to back 2009, 10.
Hmm.
5 years in between that, and in between that span. And then 3 years in between the four-peat, 2013 and 2016, and then 9 years since and 2025. And then, he had never lost in the national championship until they lost to South Carolina in 2022. So
Hmm.
that's what's interesting as well. I mean, you also got to think
Bit of revenge in this game.
right. They went to 5 straight final. I mean, you thought 5 straight Final Fours was crazy, and 2000 to 2004, and then you go 2008 to 2022, right there, which was 15 straight Final Fours. Well, I'm sorry, there's no 2020, so 14 straight Final Fours, and that's just enough. But
21 is the year Stanford won, right?
yes,
That's what I thought. That's because Brink won one, then South Carolina won, then it's LSU,
LSU,
and then South Carolina again, and then
Carolina
now
again,
UConn.
and now Connecticut. Huh?
I was just remembering. That Baylor, somebody was talking about the other day, that Baylor 2021 Baylor men's team was very good. That was a really good team.
Yes.
Somebody was talking about like really good teams of the last like 10 years. And I was like, yeah, that men's Baylor team, like with Davion Mitchell and company, that was a good team. And I think people kind of forget how good that team was just because that year became associated with Gonzaga and UCLA because of Johnny Juzang and Jalen Suggs and that whole Gonzaga team, Drew Timme and Corey Kispert, that whole team. But and that was the year that they went undefeated all the way to the national championship, but then they lost to Baylor, and Baylor was really good. That's like kind of the last really
I
insanely good
agree.
Zaga team.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
then they got Chet the next year, and they were still a one seed, and they were really good, but then they lost earlier than we thought they would. And then ever since then, Mark Few, we gotta get, yep, there I go. I mean, I was high on him this year, but I don't know. Congrats, Quinn. Congrats on the
Thank
chip.
you.
Are you gonna buy a shirt?
No.
Okay.
I won't
Uh,
buy a shirt until Gino retires, and then I will buy a shirt. I will say a shirt that has a year on it with the championship. When
I
Gino
think
retires,
it'd be really cool to have one that has all the
Gino
chips on
shirt.
the back, all the
Yeah,
years.
I want a Gino shirt, whatever, all the final 4 years, and then, put an asterisk by the one they won the championship in. That would be
That'd be pretty sweet.
enough for me. I
That'd
should
be
buy one of those ones this year, actually, for the 40th season of Gino and CD, who's been his associate head coach the whole time there. So I have not done that yet,
all
but
right.
maybe it should be on my list to do.
Let's flip it over to a men's game that had all the makings of a classic and then kind of dropped the ball. You get it?
Are we talking about?
Yes, we're talking about it.
I know, but we're going to the championship already. We haven't even talked about the Final Four.
Yeah, let's talk about the Final Four
Yeah,
first. You're
let's talk
correct.
about the Final Four, Ryan. Let's talk about it.
Are you mad about the Duke reffing?
Why am I mad when I said Houston was going to win?
It's true.
Let me just tell you, world. Let me just tell you. This chumbone over here, 32,
Bone.
yep, 32. It's deserving tonight. 32 seconds left in that Duke
Oh, I forgot
Houston
about
game.
this.
He texts me and says, about to go 4 for 4 between the men's and the women's. And then watch old Duke just let it flutter away. I was so happy. I was jumping up and down in the living room. It was so great. I told you that Houston would win, and they blew it because they had the national championship in their hands. I know I'm not going to talk about that much yet, but that was frustrating. So anyway,
Back to back choke jobs. Duke chokes, and then Houston.
I
I
will
don't know
have.
if Houston chokes, but they at least
I'm
flounder
not.
their chance to win the Natty. I mean, they had a shot.
I'm not answering that comment with what my instinct tells me to. But I will say, um, first of all, let's talk about the first game. SEC battle.
Yeah.
Auburn, Florida.
I think most people felt like Florida was going to win this, and Florida looked like the team we thought they were.
Yes, yes, yes. And I was obviously the question marks around Auburn were, you kind of struggled somewhat against my Spartans. And then on top of having the injury to the sweeper, aka
The
Broom,
Broom.
he I still think he played well. I haven't I didn't
He'll be a
pull up
first round pick,
picks yet. I don't think I still think he played well in
late
that
first.
game, even though that he had 7 boards, but he wasn't as good as he was the last 3, 4 games before that, where he was basically having a double double in the first half before sealing the deal with about 20 points and 15 boards. So I think that definitely made an impact on them because they had to force it into more guard play, it seemed like, against Florida. Um, I like the Florida team. It's an interesting composed team, to say the least. There's a lot of height there that doesn't really do a lot of much, and good guard play that is able to balance that out. So, um, Walter Clayton Jr. I thought was fantastic in the Final Four, um, and I believe he also played. Uh, he didn't play. He played terribly in the championship, so he was able to carry them
I
at least.
think they were all over him in the chip.
They were. I think
And
that's and Houston, that's the thing. Houston really, and we still got to talk about the Final Four first, but Houston really blew this national championship because it was played to their strengths. Slow, defensive. The score didn't get up. I mean, 65 points he gave up to Florida, and that's it. You would have thought Houston would have won this game, and they didn't. But anyway, Final Four. I will yield back and give the floor to you.
I gotta look up something really quick. Yeah, okay. I have to give a shout out to number 10 on Florida, Thomas Ha,
Yep.
because I had
You look
multiple
alike.
people over the last few weeks telling me I look like him or he looks like me. So, I mean, put the
Mm.
hair out. I had a decent amount of people saying we look alike. So, Thomas Hall, I don't know if I should feel complimented or you should feel complimented, but apparently people said we look alike. Um, I think it's mostly the hair. He is from Pennsylvania, though. I mean, I'm an Ohio
And he is
boy.
a sophomore. A
Yeah, so I
sophomore.
mean, we do have some similarities. You know. So, I mean, he's 6'9". I'm like 6'2", so a little bit of a difference. He also just won the national championship, which is also a little different. So,
Well, but there's national championships
well,
for everything.
congratulations to him on two accounts then.
Yes. Yes.
But as far as what I said, I mean, yeah, I mean, Walter Clayton Jr., I feel like had a rough game against Houston, no doubt, in my mind about that. But down the stretch when they needed him, he did show up there late in that second half. And I have to give him credit where credit's due on that. And this Florida team was really interesting to me because he was their go get us a bucket guy. And this is the guy who went to Iona. And I think that's what's interesting. A lot of these teams go get us a bucket guys. Maybe somebody like Cooper Flagg, who's a top level recruit,
Right.
who's been trained for this ever since high school, massive star. And Walter Clayton Jr. is not that. He's a transfer guy from Iona who's just continued to step up his game every year he's been in college. And for him to be the go get us a bucket guy on a number one seed SEC team that's everybody's favorite on ESPN to talk about, that's an absurd leap to make. And I think
Mhm.
Janai Broome was that, who was a Morehead State transfer to
Yes.
Auburn.
Yes.
And so it's like I think it's impressive that these guys were, the graphics were them versus Cooper Flag. You get what I'm saying here? And I think got to give credit to them. I know we all like kind of whine and moan about the transfer portal, just kind of, like just bitch and moan about it. But in the same sense, there is something cool to be said about Walter Clayton Jr. started at Iona and Janai Broome started at Morehead State, and now they're being shown up against Cooper Flag. Do you get what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
think I know Cooper Flag wasn't the national championship, but I'm just saying the marketing pieces, right? And the game of the national championship is the way Houston wanted to go. It was a defensive battle, it was physical, and that's exactly what Houston wanted. And Florida couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, they were both shooting like 30% early in that first half, and that's the game Houston wanted it to be. What's up, Quinn?
Okay, well, I didn't. What you're? I wanted to get back to the. I wanted to get to Houston Duke before you moved on to there to the national championship.
Well, I was going to go into that.
Okay, then go into
The
that.
national championship was the way Houston wanted it to be. They got him to shoot poorly, and that's what they did against Duke. They were very physical.
Okay.
I mean, they messed Duke up with that physical play. And Duke, we kept talking about how the depth of this team, even though they're young, they're just feel experienced, blah, blah, blah. Houston used that against them. They were like, oh, yeah, you're a young team. We'll get ready for this. Bam, bam. And they just played physical. And I don't think Duke was prepared. I mean, it's Cooper Flag. I wanted Cooper Flag to have the screw you guys, I can win this game. And he almost did. He's a shot away from having the
Mhm.
screw you guys, I'm going to win us this game. And it came up short. I mean, he had 25 points, shot about like a little over 40%. Um, and I mean, it was a good game for Cooper Flag, but it wasn't enough. And I think when you're Duke, there were two ways for you to try to win that game, which is, we're going to get a little bit from Knuppel. We're going to get a little bit from Cooper. We're going to spread it. We might get a little bit from Proctor. We're going to kind of see what we can get, right? Or it's Cooper go win us this. And it ended up going the Cooper go win us this route. And he came up a little short. And I think somebody hold that against him. But I mean, it's also the kid is what, 18? He should be a senior in high school. So I mean, I can't get on him too much. But I will say, the talks of him being the greatest freshman of all time, I do think dissipated after that loss. I think the greatest freshman of
Well,
all
it
time.
did. It did so the same when Zion lost in the Elite
Oh
Eight
yeah,
6 years
I think the
ago.
greatest freshman of all time is either Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, or Zion. And I know you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! You just picked two guys who won the national championship at Zion. I'm gonna state, I watched Zion. It was the craziest shit of all time. Like he just looked unguardable. Like I'm just saying.
Yep.
Granted, I wasn't born when Carmelo Anthony was winning, and I was very young. I barely remember watching Anthony Davis. So
Yep.
I'm saying, partially because I lived through Zion, I'm a little biased. But I remember watching Zion, and it was like, dude, this guy can't be stopped. This guy's nuts. And
Right.
Cooper Flag, I don't think has that, and that's fine. I think Cooper Flag is going to be an elite player at the NBA level. But as far as college goes, I think he is. If this is the Carmelo, Anthony Davis, Zion tier, he is right beneath them.
Hmm.
But I don't think he's on that level of dominance because
Hmm.
we needed that game from him, right? We needed the Christian Laettner game winner type moment from him, and
Hmm.
we didn't get it, and that's all right. But it's the truth. It doesn't mean he sucks now. I don't understand this like notion where it's like
Because that's
he's the
how
greatest
it
thing
is.
ever or he's the worst thing ever. Like he's very good and
We
he's
live
going to
in a
be a really good
reactionary
NBA player.
world. It's a reactionary world.
Well,
That's all.
I'm trying to smooth this out, and I'm saying right now, Houston is really well coached.
Yes, Calvin Sampson is a great coach.
Great coach. And he
Um,
gets the most out of his guys. And
and I'm
I
going to
actually don't even
say
think it's the best team he's ever had. I think the Marcus Sasser team was better. And they still went to the national championship.
I can't counter that as in I have not evaluated that yet.
Okay.
But my first of all, shout out to the era of when freshmen weren't allowed to play NCAA varsity sports. So hello, Pistol Pete, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton. You
True.
weren't allowed to play. So I just want to say, can't compare you in the greatest freshman, I guess. But that's
True.
that out. And then you know, at one point Duke was up 14 in the second half. And it looked like Houston was left for dead. But then Duke decided to only score one basket in the last 10 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
And that left the door open the whole time.
That's the thing
The
is anybody
Cougars,
complaining about the
the
refing
Cougars
didn't
to
watch the
crawl
game.
back in. The Cougars crawled back in, and then they were able to cinch it up for the win. And it was great. Now, I will say this that foul at the end was questionable. But at the end of the day, Duke needed to stop the clock anyway in order to get the
That's
ball.
the thing is I think it would be a lot different if that foul call happens and it's been a close game the whole way. Duke was in position to win and they, like you said, one field goal in 10 minutes. Like at that point, you don't deserve to win anyway. That's my thought. I get it was a questionable call. I thought that when I was watching it, but I was like, this team blew it. They had their opportunity. And I think every single one of those guys, they're Division One athletes. They're not blaming the refs. They're blaming themselves because they know they should have made more shots at the end. They blew it. I mean, they know that, and I'm sure that's what Coach Shire said.
Well, I need to correct myself. I forgot that flag foul came when they were still up one. So
Yes.
they didn't need the clock to stop,
No.
actually. But okay, yes, and that problem is this is that we're watching it in replay and not in live. And that doesn't mean who knows if it's at the same exact it's not the same exact speed as the referee would have saw it anyway. Now, might not have been the best angle to see if there was a foul there. It was the center. The center, I think, was it could have been a little bit blocked, be able to see through that. But the perception of a foul was there, and that's why it was called. I know I hate to say it that way, but at the end of the day,
I think I'd have a lot more sympathy
and the thing is
if it
too is
was the
that
reverse. If it was
well,
Duke was down and fought back and then that call
right,
happens,
right,
I don't have sympathy. It's like you guys were in position to win and you blew it. And at
yes, you
that
did,
point, you were on the verge of blowing it
and
anyway.
let's remember, yes, they made both. Houston made both free throws. You were still only down one. Terrible execution and a terrible play to end that game on
You
off.
basically said Cooper go win us this, and that's a hard. I mean,
He's not
we just
good.
went over how young he is. Like, that's a tough spot to be in.
Right, right. And it wasn't even drawn up well. It was never
No, it
a
was
good
just
play
him
off.
go post up, turn around jumper.
Yeah.
There
So
wasn't a lot of motion on it. It was rough.
so
I'm with you, dude.
and again, another game, even though it looks until about 10 and a half minutes left in the second half, it was all running at Duke's pace. And then Houston was able to just take the reins. You know, I tell people that all the time. You got to take the reins sometimes and just pull that horse, baby. You got to
Yep.
pull it. And that's what they did. And ended up paying off in the long run and getting the win and heading to the national championship game.
Where they then lost in a very close game against Florida.
Yes.
In which, like I said, had all makings of a classic, and then they dropped the ball. And
Yes.
I do really feel for Juwan Roberts because he had a rough game anyway. He went 3 for 13.
Hmm.
And then he's in the position to, well, it was him, right? We're correct? Am I correct in that?
I am looking.
I want to make sure it was him because I thought it was, but I want to make sure that it was Juwan Roberts, right?
Sharp.
Oh, it was Manuel Sharp? Okay.
Hmm.
Well, he went um, 3 for 11. I knew it was one of the two guys who didn't shoot well, but I mean, none of them shot well. Like LJ Cryer went 6 for 18.
Yeah, it was not a good game
Sharp
for him.
went 3 for 11. Juwan Roberts went 3 for 13. Uzan went 2 for 9. Joseph Tugler only went 2 for 3. So I mean, he got it done. But I feel bad for Emmanuel Sharp because when you're him and you went 3 for 11, you are now in the position to shoot the game-winning shot or try to make a tying bucket. And that's a hard spot to be in. A junior, I think, looks like a real junior too, for what it's worth. And you know, I went back to, do you remember in 2016, UNC Nova? And that moment almost happened, and he double pumps in the air and still makes it. One of the greatest
Yes.
shots in college basketball history. But
Marcus
then,
Pate.
yes, but then it was taken away because Chris Jenkins hits the greatest shot in basketball history.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that shot would have went down if if they go to overtime, UNC wins that. That goes down as one of the greatest shots in basketball, like college basketball history. But because Chris Jenkins then hits the greatest shot in college basketball history, it kind of demotes that. But that shot was incredible. The double pump in the air. That's basically
Yeah.
what he would have had to have pulled out. It was really good defense from Florida. And I just feel bad for him because as somebody who's played basketball, like I made a mistake like that before. It sucks that it happened on the largest stage possible for
Hmm.
that big of a monumental mess up that will undoubtedly be the biggest moment of his career, which just sucks for him. Like I feel bad for the guy. Um, and it's gonna always, and it's kind of sucks because March Madness is always full of these great moments, and now it's a moment that just kind of gonna live in. Ugh. Like I remember, like when the game ended, like they were trying to show it on the replay, like, oh, and a great dive there by Thomas Haw. I think it was Haw to wrap it up. Um, great hustle there. It might have been Alex Condon. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody dove on it for Florida, and they were like, great hustle there to win him the national. I'm like, no, like there is no cool moment here. Like there is no cool moment. The moment was he had the game-winning shot. Yes, the defense came up. He wasn't ready. Kind of lost his dribble, and then that was it. And it just kind of was it's super anticlimactic. And that not only does that suck for the fan, it sucks for the players. Like I think that feels weird when you're Florida, where you didn't even it's like I mean on the one hand you're like I guess we had great defense, but I just kind of feel bad for everybody involved. It's a weird moment and we'll always kind of remember it as just a bit of a sputtering end to a
Hmm.
tournament that well, I think was a good March Madness. Wasn't as great as others because there wasn't a lot of Cinderella. Like, I don't know. It kind of felt like a fitting end to this tournament, where it's just kind of a tournament that I think will not be infamous or anything. It's one that I think we'll remember and be like, yeah, it was kind of weird. It
Hmm.
was. It was kind of weird that there was just a lot of one seeds. Wasn't a lot of upsets. It made people kind of question the transfer portal and NIL. And I think it's a tournament that if we get a similar tournament next year, I think you're going to see people start to get really questionable of some things with the NCAA. I think next year we gotta get back to a couple more upsets. I mean, I do think it's odd we had all one seeds in the Final Four. That is a rare thing. It's only happened twice. If we get that 2 or 3 more years in a row, then we got issues. But I think it's an overreaction to state that we're in deep trouble or anything. What do you think, Q?
I don't think you're in deep trouble at all.
I don't think so either. I really don't. I think college basketball is in a fine place. And I do think the ending of that stunk. But I mean, for every great moment, you're gonna have 5 or 6 moments that stink. And it just happened to happen that that moment happened in the national championship. If that moment happens in a first round game, it's weird. It's on Twitter for a couple of days, it's gone. It just happened to happen in the national championship, and I don't know. I just think it kind of stinks for this Houston team. It's a really tough way to go out. And for Florida, I mean, got to give them credit. 3 national championships in the span of little less than 20 years. Really, really, really great program.
Yeah, I think the only program that might have eclipsed that is Connecticut's four.
Hmm.
had in the last 21. So, in the men's basketball side. But um, I don't think I have anything else much to say other than
I get it. I mean
I think
that
that she
Florida
was
team
on
I think is really well coached.
the Houston team.
I think both teams are really well coached.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And I think, I mean, in conclusion, I think for me, um, and I think it just to put this thing to bed is that Houston really was did to themselves what Duke did on Saturday.
Yep.
Get a 12-point lead. You kind of had it controlled in your pace, and then you left the door open and able to allow Florida to crawl back in. And as I was looking back, I'm pretty sure when it was the largest lead of the night, Florida had scored. Let's see, they had scored 42. So let's take it even further back. They had kept it at 45-34 forever. So 13 and a half left. It was still 45-34. So in the game, Houston only scored 18 points and Florida scored 31. So there was just non-existent offense from the Cougars, and they needed to score. I mean, I'm pretty sure they turned the ball over a lot, from my recollection. 9, which I think might be a little bit higher for them because they never turned the ball over. So that's uh that's all I have to say on that. And actually, is their season average, but um, never seems like they turn the ball over. Or they turn the ball dead ball turnovers instead of live ball turnovers. But
Hmm.
that's it, And you thought I thought Kelvin Sampson was going to finally bring it home for the University of Houston, and we're gonna have to try again next year. That's
I'm sure
possible.
they will be good next year. I mean, it feels like he's got a really strong program. But and I mean, they play his style and his style works. So,
Yep. Yep.
um, I do just want to say, quick piece.
Quick piece.
I always think this when Jay Wright's doing the broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe he's one of the greatest basketball coaches ever for college basketball because Villanova won 2 titles in 3 years, and they went from being a where is that school to the college basketball school in the span of like 3 or 4 years, and that will always be impressive to me. I just wanted to state that. What do you think, Q?
I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, in modern times,
Got to be one of the best ever. Like I think he eclipsed Brad Stevens because they Butler was always so
okay, but
close.
Brad Stevens never won
That's why
anything.
I'm saying, but I mean, it was a great run. It was a great run, but
Okay. I mean,
I was just saying someone who was on a similar path where you took a
right.
smaller team.
Obviously, again, it's the eras discussion, as in my opinion, John Wooden is
No,
number
no, no,
one.
I'm saying one of. I'm saying Jay Wright is like one of the best.
Yes. I'm just trying to place him where you think,
If the
you're
2010s, of the 2010s, is he the best?
of the 2010s.
Is it him or Coach K? It's probably the two in the 2010s, right? They both get two. No, Coach K only had one in the 2010s. Two. What's the first one? 2015 and what? What's the other one?
2010 over Butler.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Who's on that team? He's on Duke in 2010.
Possibly one of the Plumlee brothers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know who else.
Kyle Singler graduated. He was 2009.
Yeah, yeah. I
Pretty
don't
sure.
know. Continue. What were you gonna say? Yeah, I think it's probably Coach K or Wright. But Wright gets the moment of the decade with Chris Jenkins.
He does.
That's
Um,
probably the best. I mean, that's the moment of college basketball. They'll be talking about that one forever. It's the national championship ending on a buzzer beater. It was the most perfect thing to happen.
Coach of the 2010s, you say?
Coach Wright, I think so, in my opinion. I really do. I think it was incredible what he did to Villanova. And I think it's impressive when at the time it was like, oh, you know, it's like they're good, but like they can't stack up against like Kentucky and Duke, right? And then they did. And then not only that, those players on those teams got drafted to the NBA as like middle of the road guys, and now are like Jalen Brunson's really good, way better than anyone ever thought he'd be. Mikal Bridges is playing at a level I think higher than most people thought he'd play, right? And I think that's also, I know I shouldn't factor in completely, but I'm saying it's impressive because at the time people were like, oh, these guys aren't that good. And Coach Wright kind of gave them a platform, and now they're in the NBA. You get what I'm saying here? Carl
Mhm.
Anthony Towns would have been a big damn deal no matter where he went. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Whereas Jalen Brunson, I don't know if he gets drafted without Coach Wright in Villanova. And now Brunson makes
Right.
$40
He's
million
more
a year.
he developed players
He
more.
developed
And
guys not only to be
on
good college players, but to be
recruiting.
good NBA players. And that's impressive because coach, like I would say, for example, Calipari's had, if you took if you made rosters, right, you just put every coach's alumni, Calipari has probably the best roster out of current coaches. If we're talking about 2010s, it's probably him versus Coach K for the best rosters, right?
Mhm.
But Calipari only has one national championship with in the 2010s, the one
Mhm.
with Anthony Davis. So it's like, I'm just saying, like, he had some excellent NBA talent, but it didn't really translate to winning college basketball games.
Mhm.
Like that Duke team with Zion had some really good NBA talent, did not translate to winning a national championship. Whereas if you look at those Nova teams, you'd be like, oh, well, these guys are just good college players. And then they went on to be, you see what I'm saying? He's doing the reverse. And I think that's very impressive. That, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, it does. I just think about whenever he's on the broadcast. I miss him. I think he was an excellent coach. And Villanova will never be that way again.
No. And I enjoy his perspective
He clearly
during the
knows the game
halftime
and
shows.
he knew
Yes.
how to motivate players and he was smart.
Yes.
It's just,
I'm gonna have to think more about that 2010s comment.
all right, you think about it. Okay.
I think he can consider being top 10 all time.
I'm fine with that. I just want him to get credit because I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I remember he had Dante DiVincenzo looking like the man in college, dude. Like I remember when they played Michigan, I was like, this guy just can't miss.
Yes. I was watching.
Crazy.
Yep.
I was like, this dude just can't miss a shot. Like Brunson was a side piece in that team. He was not the main show, and now he's like a
Hmm.
second team All NBA guy. It's impressive.
Exactly. Yep. It's credit to him on the player development.
Yeah, I mean, without him, I don't think Brunson's in the league. The Knicks wouldn't have their superstar. Just
No,
like
they would.
crazy. It's just crazy. Like if I said to you in 2019, I'm like, hey, Carl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are on the same team, and you'd be like, okay, yeah, so like Brunson's like sixth man, and it's like, no, he's better than Carl Anthony Towns. He's the best player. Carl Anthony Towns is his two man, like he's his partner. You'd be like, what? That's just crazy.
Hmm.
Now, granted, maybe one could argue I'm giving too much credit to Wright for these guys' NBA success, and I'm not giving the other coaches as much credit as I should. But
Oh
I'm
no.
saying it's impressive to me that he had both like collegiate success and those
Right.
guys on professional success. It wasn't one or the other. Like that's really cool.
Hmm.
Whereas the Harrison brothers had immense college success, but their game didn't translate.
That's right.
So I
That's
just think
right.
it's interesting. It feels like every guy he had at Nova
But
translated.
you also are trying to compare someone that went to college for 1 year and someone, or maybe two, it's someone that stayed all four.
And
So
then there's
they did
that.
not get the proper development.
All right, last
Yeah.
piece, and we'll close out. Should Cooper Flag come back? Play with
He's going to
play
leave,
with
but
Cameron Boozer.
would he come back? Yes.
Yes.
He's already a year. He's a year younger already. Take another year to develop.
I agree. I think
And
it'll
he's
really
making
benefit him.
plenty of money in college.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, he's already in that. I love the ad with him playing bingo. Good
yes,
one.
good. Yep. You think
I
that's
think
like
he's
his
going to go
grandmother?
on to be a very big star for the NBA. I would like to see him go to Chicago, even though it's very unlikely. He'll probably end up in Washington though.
Yeah, they need help.
They do.
Big help.
I
Big
think
help.
I think that team's actually better than some people think it is. But I think it would be fun if he goes to Chicago because to me he seems like a guy who wants pressure on him. That's what I went to do. He didn't go to
Right.
some random school, right? He went
Right.
to the school, right?
Well,
And I think, well,
no.
I'm saying like for like a big prospect.
Right.
Like Paulo Banchero went there. Like I'm saying it's
Yes.
big.
I know what you're meaning.
Yes,
It was more of a chide at Duke than it was at your comment.
I know. I knew what you're doing. And I'm saying if he goes to the Wizards fans would be amped if it's like this guy averages 16 a game as a rookie, wins Rookie of the Year relatively easily, and they're still one of the five worst teams next year. Whereas if he went to the Bulls, it would be like if they don't make the playoffs next year, what are you doing, Cooper? Like it's way more
Right,
pressure.
right,
Way
right.
more pressure, a way more angry fan base, a fan
Yeah.
base that's going to be like, all right, well, we need you to be the next Michael Jordan. And you'd be like, what? But I actually think he seems like everything I've seen, he wants that pressure. He wants the smoke. And so I would love to see him get drafted to a situation where he has that pressure. And I think Chicago would be that. I think it'd be really fun.
Yep.
But it's very unlikely, exceptionally unlikely. They have some of the lowest odds. But I think it would be really fun. But that's just my thought. If the NBA draft lottery is rigged, let's rig it for Chicago. I mean, literally, Chicago also is the city that has the most famous city flag, and his last name is Flag, in case you didn't realize. So you could have, the Chicago flag, and it's him. I'm just saying, because when he goes to DC, they're going to call him the American flag. Like yeah, what's going to happen. So the
Sure. I don't know. I haven't written the future yet.
Oh,
So that's
I have.
the
The
first
prophecy
step is he's
said
got to declare for the draft. So
it's true.
that's all
It's
I
true.
can say.
Could you imagine like he just does it, and then next year's draft has him and DeBonsta? It's just like so much talent and Boozer. It'd be a lot. Be a lot. Be exciting. Okay. Well, Quinn, it has been a great run. Next week I'll be doing NBA
Yes.
playoff predictions. You will not be with me for that.
I will not. I will be
Not
on
be joining.
my sabbatical and I will not be back until next March unless plans change.
Okay, maybe I'll have you on for just 1 week NFL talk. It'll depend on how good your Steelers do.
Another sore subject. Let's not talk about them.
I believe it. All right, Q. I will be seeing you in person tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Yes, yes,
I'm gonna
yes.
get this all edited and put up tonight. Thank you
Okay.
for coming on. It was great March, and I'm looking forward to having you again next year. It's fun for March Madness. We'll have to do it again next year.
Yes, yes. I am wearing down. 10:40. Should have went to the gym at 6.
All right. I will let you go, bud. Thank
Yep.
you for coming on.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. You want to try
I-
this?
You got
Goodbye, bud.
everything good
Great.
before I
Thank
end
you.
the meeting.
What'd you say? I'm gonna end the recording.